4D Beast Acrylic and Gel Nail Art Tutorial by Hotpinkzebrapolish. Hi guys, in today's video I'm going to be doing the last of my Beauty and the Beast videos, so if you are just coming and you see this one first, definitely check the description box below. I'll have links to the other two. In this one I'm going to be doing a 4D Beast, and so it's going to be the top of the nail has him at the end where he's happy, and then you can take that off, and then it's in the beginning where he's got the cloak on and he's not happy. So that's the beginning and the end of the movie, which I think is just really cool. Like I said in my Belle video, that I am loving doing these nail designs that you can take a piece off and it's like a whole nother thing underneath. So I'm loving that. I hope you like them too, and don't forget to click subscribe to my future videos as well. So to start with, I'm going to be gluing two magnets onto the nail with just some nail glue. So one is near the cuticle and one is near the tip, but they're like lined up in the center of the nail. After those are glued on and the glue has dried, I'm going to be applying a layer of really gorgeous dark purple color gel on top of that. If you're doing this on a natural nail, be sure to put either some clear gel underneath that or a enhancement based gel underneath, just to really help with adhesion. Otherwise, if you're just doing this on a practice tip like I am, you are good to go. After that's in place, cure it, and now I'm going to be encasing the nail with a layer of clear builder gel, really just to give it that strength and shape. Really quickly, before I get too far into this video, I want to announce the giveaway winner to the Shea Terra Organics argan oil that I did the giveaway last Monday. And so the winner of that will be Exotica's Empire. So if you could contact me within approximately 72 hours, that would be fantastic, and then we can arrange shipping. After that has cured, go ahead and remove the tacky layer with some isopropyl, and then file it. I started with a 180 grit file to remove any of the bulk and weird things that may have gone on with that one. And so after that's in a good shape, I'm going to go ahead and buff that with a 240 grit padded buffer to remove any scratches. So now with some brown paint, I'm going to start painting my beast. And so this is a lighter shade of brown paint just than he actually is, just so that it shows up nice against that really dark purple background. So I'm just going to base out that first main area. So this is pretty much his head, just with that brown. I really wanted all these to be a lot of faces, because if you fan too much, or if you pan too much out and put in more of his body, you would really miss so much of the details of his face, which is really what we want, because that's where all of the emotion is. So while that brown paint is still wet, I'm going to be blending in some white paint in the areas that he has lighter colored fur. You could also wait till it's dried and then just have multiple shades of brown paint and do it that way. I kind of like blending it in because you get all these variants of this lighter color within the darker color. I mean, it doesn't so flat. It's all got all these colors mixed in. So after I have that done, I'm going to take some either black or darker brown. I used black, and I'm going to be blending in the darker areas of his face. So his lower lip, and then I'm going to add the bridge of his nose and his lower lip and his mouth area. This is one of the key differences between the underside and the top of the nail, because for the underside, or this little painted one, you have to make sure that you give him a frown. So just tuck in the bottoms of his mouth just to make him look like he's grouchy. So then after you have those darker areas of fur, go ahead and add his horns with some charcoal or dark gray paint, just where they are, so they kind of have that curved shape there. And so, like I said, this is with charcoal color. We're going to darken them later on, but just do that, and then also add his nose with that same dark gray color. And so now I'm going to take and I'm going to start adding all of my little details with black. So I did a couple outlines here and there. I'm going to start with the horns. Like I said, I'm going to be darkening those up. So one side of the horns gets a black stripe on it, and then I'll do the other horn with that same black stripe, just to make it look like it's got a shadow on it. So basically we did the highlight originally with the gray, and now we're adding the bulk of it with the black. And then also outline his nose and his mouth, and do some outlines like around his brows, really make those nice and deep and like he's scowling at you, like, what are you doing here? How dare you enter my castle? And then, like, that's what I'm doing there with that. I also did some outlining around his mouth and then around the sides of his face. So just here and there, add little bits of black just to make him help add that fur texture. And that's what I'm doing there. And then I'm going to take and I'm going to be adding outlines to his tusks and to his eyes, just little tiny outlines here and there, just to sketch in the placement of some of those. But for the most part, the black is to add fur texture on him. And so then with white, I'm going to be filling in those eyes, and these are really small squinty looking eyes, and also add his tusks. And then within those eyes also add some blue, and then add the pupil with black again. And so now I'm going to be filling in his cloak with purple, and this is a very slightly lighter shade of purple than the dark background, and I'll be highlighting it with some white. Just blend that in so that it isn't so dark and it does actually show up against the background, and then add the little buckle on the cloak with yellow. and then apply a layer of gel sealer and cure this, and you can be done with that part. So wrap the nail up with some clear plastic wrap just so that it's really, really tight. Normally I would recommend using a food type of plastic wrap like Saran, I know is a brand that I usually end up using. This is actually from a plastic bag, so it wasn't quite as thin and flexible, but it does work. And then set 2 magnets on top of, well, 1 magnet on top of each of the magnets that's inside the nail underneath there. So it goes nail, plastic, magnets on top of that. And then with brown acrylic, I'm going to go through and start sculpting on my beast and pretty much follow the exact same steps that I did to paint him underneath, with the notable differences of making him look happy instead of sad. And I will go through what those key differences are that really makes the emotion in a moment. But I'm going to first just start with that same brown shape like I did with the paint underneath, same exact thing. So really quick, some of the key differences, like I mentioned before, are his smile, and now I'm going to go through with some gold and add the lighter shades of fur. But that is another of the key differences. Instead of doing this with matte colors or flat colors, I'm doing all of these added layers on him with shimmery colors. So I'm using gold and bronze for the majority of it. His tusks and his horns and things like that don't have that metallic quality, but all of the fur does. And it's subtle, so you don't look at it and go, oh my goodness, why is Beast sparkly? Because it's not that intense. It's just this little hint of shimmer on him that really, without really thinking about it, makes him look like he's nicer, because something cranky generally isn't sparkly. I mean, maybe I have been in some foul moods and still worn glitter eyeshadow, but for the most part, that's not the case. So that is one of the things that I did to really make him look like he's happier, is to really add some of that shimmer on there. And I pretty much coated this guy in shimmer, and at the moment it does seem like it's a little bit more intense of a sparkle than it does at the end. And a couple things do that. One, the acrylic, some of that is still wet at the moment, and wet acrylic is going to look shimmery even if it doesn't have any shimmer to it, so that does amp up the glitter. And then I also added matte top coat on top of this guy, which does tone that down too. So it's not, like I said, it's not intense. It's just this little hint of shimmer. And the other a couple other things that really makes a difference is that his smile is going up instead of a frown going down underneath, and his eyes. And adding the little differences in the eyes is something that, because it is so small, it is hard to do. It's difficult to do because it's so tiny that those little shape differences are almost impossible to see, let alone paint. And so, but if you are going to want to make sure that you make his eyes expressive, you want to make sure that for the one underneath, his eyes slant down towards his nose, and that for the one on top, they have like a really round, open shape. So if you can get that done, great. Otherwise, it's so small that it will look fine regardless. So now to add his clothing, I'm going to first do just a very thin layer of white acrylic going just around his face. And then after I have that white in there, I'm going to start adding some yellow. So this is just another thin layer of yellow going around the white. So just add these little bits of color so it just like stripes. And so there's the first part of the yellow, and then I'll go through and add some yellow on the other side too. And if these pieces seem like they're so thin that once you take them off he's going to break, add a little bit more. But as long as it's stable enough to be removed from the nail, it's fine, because you can add some acrylic underneath it to strengthen it and bulk it up if that is necessary. And since I am using a thicker plastic wrap that wasn't as snug to the nail, I definitely did have to add some underneath it. But so, I mean, just keep that in mind, that if it does seem like it's too thin, as long as you can safely remove it, you can always thicken that later. So now I'm going to be adding his nose with some black, or his horns with some black acrylic. Same curly shape as before, and the reason underneath I did them with gray and then added black, on here I'm doing in black and then adding gray. It really doesn't matter. It's whatever method you want to choose. The one part of the reason why I did gray underneath first is because against that dark purple, had I done them with black originally, it would have been much harder to see them and highlight them. But if you do them with gray first, it's easier to add the dark parts, especially since that background is so dark. As some lights, the dark purple almost looks black. So I'm taking very, very wet acrylic. I'm also adding a little shadow under his eyebrows with some, basically, it's almost like watercolor, but it's acrylic. And then also doing a little bit of that black on his nose just to darken that up. And then for the last 3D element on this guy, I'm going to be adding his tusks with just the teensiest bit of white acrylic above his lip. And so like I said, that's the last 3D element. So then after those are in place, you can go back to painting. And first I'm going to actually remove my beast and then peel off that plastic wrap. And as I said, I did fill that in underneath, so I guess that is acrylic. It's not 3D necessarily, but there is one more little bit with acrylic here. And I'm just using clear because it is the strongest, and I'm going to fill in the wrinkles that that plastic wrap created on the underside of my beast. And you want to just fill them in. You don't want to overfill this because it might not sit on the nail properly, but as long as you can fill them in, then you are good to go. Plus, like I said, that will add some strength. And now, using some paint again, I'm going to be highlighting my beast with some light gold paint. Same thing, kind of a shimmery color, just to bring out the sparkle in his personality at this point. And I'm going to be painting his eyes with white, like I said, trying to keep them open and rounder than the underneath image. Highlighting his horns with some more of that white color. This time it's a little diluted just so it's not so intense of a white. Add his blue in his eyes, and then go back through, and I'm going to be adding the details with black on my 3D beast. So I'm going to start with pupils, just like that, little teeny tiny dot. And then just little details here and there, not nearly as much as I did on the underside with the black, just mainly outlines to separate the bigger shapes. And after that's on there, go through and add a layer of a matte top coat, like I said, on top of him, and you are all set. This nail, I love it so much. Beast is my favorite character in the movie, so I was so excited to do this one, and he's got so much character that even those subtle differences really do show up. So I hope you like this, and check out the description box for the links to the other 2 videos, plus a Beauty and the Beast natural nail design I did a couple years ago, and I will see you in my next video. Bye!